Hello, low, low. Episode 1, take, I don't know. I've lost track. It's very important when you start doing a podcast that you unmute your mic. Pro tip of the day. I've decided to keep my camera off as I've done a few tests. And right now my setup just does not allow with the webcam and all that. So I want to get started and figured I would get started with kind of episode 1, the green flag starting line of mental health. So welcome to the Mental Pit Stop, a space to slow down, refuel, and talk openly about mental health and life. I've kind of wrote out a script for this because my attention span, my ADHD, often I'm scatterbrained all over the place. If you've watched my live stream when racing, I often start a sentence, somebody sends a message in the chat. Next thing you know, I totally forgot about what I was talking about. And it happens every day. And it's something I've come to live with. It's something that people in my work, my personal life have, I guess, kind of got used to. So if it feels like I'm reading, I am, because I want to be able to provide the most value, heartfelt, personal podcast I can. So wherever you're listening today, maybe you're in the car, you're at home, you're out walking Dottie, wherever you may be, I appreciate you just stopping in, and hopefully you can listen, take some time for yourself. And I want you to think of this as your pit stop, a place you don't have to race against the clock, a chance to take a breath, reflect, and remember that you're not alone. Now, before we get started, I want to be clear. I am not a licensed mental health professional. What you hear in this podcast are personal stories, reflection, tools that I've used in the past that have helped me and others. Also, tips and tricks I've had through years of therapy. If you're struggling, please reach out to a qualified professional or a local crisis hotline. If you ever feel unsafe or in immediate danger, please call 911 right away. So the space isn't about fixing everything in one go. As we look at episode 1 title, The Green Flag, you know, the red lights go out, and sometimes we need to pull in, take a pit stop, check in, leave with just a little bit more fuel than we started the day off. So let's get into this. Take your racing gloves off. Keep open mind, open heart. I've written a script for that, but I want to start each podcast with a affirmation. I have had affirmations pinned on my bathroom mirror. I've journaled them before. And I'm going to get into it a little bit later about starting this podcast, but I want to start each podcast with a affirmation, a short reminder that we can all hold on to. And this is one that I've written before. And then we're going to take a deeper dive into this. If you want to repeat the words after me and say them aloud. If you're not comfortable with that, write your own. That's entirely up to you. I often say it more than once, so let's get into this. I am strong. I am worthy of all good things that come my way. I won't let my mind overpower me. I will stay present and grateful for the moment. I will take care of myself and those around me. I will focus on what I control. I won't let my trauma define me. I am strong. I am worthy of all good things that come my way. I won't let my mind overpower me. I will stay present and grateful for the moment. I will take care of myself and those around me. I will focus on what I control. I won't let my trauma define me. As I've noticed, the more I say it, the more I believe it. Saying it out loud has more of a effect on you. I don't want to say internally, rather than reading it silently, if that makes sense. So take a deep breath and let's go through that line by line. I am strong. Strength isn't always about pushing hard. Sometimes it's in knowing when you step back, when to rest, when to ask for help. And often, especially as men, asking for help is not easy. I am worthy of all good things. For many of us, this is the hardest one. Worth isn't something you've earned by doing enough or being perfect. It's something you already have, no matter what you've been through. I won't let my trauma define me. Trauma may shape us, it may leave marks, it may leave scars, but it doesn't get to write your entire story. There's more to you than just your trauma. If you'd like to create one of your own, something personal, something you can carry with you throughout the week, throughout the day, maybe write it down in a journal, say it out loud, as I was saying, each morning, because words matter. And repeating them begins to shift how we see ourselves. I remember going back years ago, probably not that many years ago, maybe, 6, 7 years ago. And I had a therapist that said, we don't have to be just letters in the alphabet. And she was referring to, I now call PTSI, which I'll explain later, instead of PTSD. My ADHD, I've been tested for many other things that have letters. But it really hit home to me that we aren't just letters that are associated with our names, whatever that trauma is that you've been through. So I recently listened to a podcast and it was saying how there's a shift in the mental health professionals that are now calling post-traumatic stress injury. And I can really see that because your stress trauma, whether it's been a car accident, whether it's been, where's overseas, being in war, whatever it's been, grieving over a loved one, it's an injury. It's not a disorder. So I am going to do my best to remember, I often PTSD rolls off my tongue, and I want to be able to say PTSI. So the green flag in racing, that's what I want to talk about now. Is every race begins with, I'm going to say the green flag, but the red lights go out and you have the green flag to then move forward. The grid is set. For me, the tension is high. Especially, if it's not a rolling start and it's a grid start, you're like little tense. I know I am, the adrenaline, and suddenly it's like, okay, turn one's coming up and you're looking in your mirror to see who's going to push you out of the way. The green flag moment is pure anticipation, and life works the same way. We all face starting lines, a new job, a health journey, therapy, rebuilding a relationship, starting a new relationship, moving into a new place, as gray with a new child. Often it's the green flag moment. Let's be honest. The hardest part is not lap 20, lap 100, or many people doing 200 laps. It's about the first lap. It's not about the last. It's about the first step. We hesitate, we overthink, we tell ourselves, what if I stall? What if I'm not good enough? What if I crash? What if somebody takes me out? What if I ruin somebody else's race or ruin somebody else's day. I've often thought I wanted to do a little segment on, imagine if every race you were in, people treated you like you were face to face. Imagine, I know it's a game, but I've thought about that. People are pushy, people are bullies because they're behind a screen, whatever. But I'll put that to the side for now and move on. The truth is, races are not won the first lap. They're won through consistency, or won through adjustments, through the long haul. The green flag, as I've called this episode, doesn't demand perfection, just states that you start, right? Just like the stoplight, the green, yellow, and the red stoplight. Think back to a moment you were scared to start, and I have so many. And that's part of the reason I wanted to start this podcast. Maybe you delayed it for weeks, months, even years. And when you finally did it, it wasn't as bad as you had imagined. It never is. I always say I have a master's degree and probably a PhD in procrastination. It's the power of starting that keeps you going, I think. So let's take a quick pause here. Close your eyes. If you're somewhere safe, take a deep breath. Let it out. Do that a couple times if you want. Now, think about where you are right now. What's your green flag moment that you want to get started with? What's something that you've been putting aside that you've hesitated on? It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's making the first phone call to a friend you haven't talked to in a while, going for a walk, saying sorry. Saying sorry really hits me. I will share that in another podcast about my relationship with my mother and how that all played out. The other one, maybe you need to reach out and ask for help. Picture it in your mind. Imagine what it would be like. Try not to overthink it, and then come back to where you are. I recently discovered either the 3-2-1 do it or the 1-2-3. It's something that I'm actually personally working on. And I'm going to get into a few things of what I'm personally working on as well. The beauty of racing is that no one runs the entire distance in one burst of energy, whether it's I used to be a marathon runner. You know, you break down your training, you build your resilience, you build your stamina. But life is the same. We have to go day by day, sometimes even hour by hour. I've gone minute by minute. Imagine if the hour by hour is just lap by lap. Life works in my opinion. That's why I love this community. I love GT7 because there's so many things in it that remind me of life. Say you want to get fit. I know I do. I'm busy. It hasn't been something I've put off and not necessarily always have the motivation 100%. But like I said, don't think about it as a marathon. I often, when I haven't been training, I will tell myself, today I'm going for a 10-minute walk. That's it. And that's a goal. And I use that to help build up my stamina. And the feeling you get when you finish something is simply amazing. Maybe you want to build a relationship. Don't think you have to fix everything. It's just about starting one honest conversation. Say you're on a healing journey. Don't think I have to erase all my struggles. Think I'll try one healthy habit today. And for me, I don't know if there's anybody else out there that wants to quit smoking, but I really, if I had a accountability partner, I'll be honest, I'm not ready to quit right now. It is definitely my stress relief. But that's a whole other thing we'll get into. I think the biggest thing is each lap, each task, each baby step that you do builds momentum. My notes I have that I created, I'm at the point where I want to share a personal story, and I'm trying to think because I have so many that I want to share. And when I made my notes, I'm like, which one do I share? Trying to think of a goal. I would probably have to say not necessarily a goal I broke, but kind of a step that I got over somewhat. Not all the time. I still have my days. I still struggle. But in losing as many friends as I did throughout my career, I often felt like why them and not me. I was adopted. My mother was a teenager when she had me. What's my purpose? Like, they had families, they had everything going for them, and I had a lot of insecurities and whatnot. So I was faced with a lot of guilt, on survivor guilt, maybe. I've written some poems before that talked about one young, I think he was 22, maybe 23 at the time. And I would have preferred that I got killed rather than him. His name was Blake, and he was a corporal. He worked for me when he was a private, but he had his entire life in front of him. And I had already lived, I'm going to say, a good life. So the guilt that I was faced with, that I really put on myself, it really impacted me for a long time. And I would say the step that I got over is by doing a lot of these daily affirmations and journaling and therapy and all of that. It could have been anyone. Same as some of the decisions at the rank I was, I had to make decisions to, go clear that building, do this. Like, these are the tactics we're doing and whatnot. And, sometimes those decisions led to injuries and whatnot. And, sometimes when you're in a position of authority, that's hard to handle. But I would say now is the point where I've kind of moved on. I still think about it once in a while, but it's getting back to where I was. And I would say even starting this podcast is something that I wanted to do for a while, not only to maybe help others, inspire others, give people an opportunity to have someone to reach out with, but I also thought it was going to be help me, speak openly, stuff like that. So a few little things I wanted to share about tools. So how do we make this work in everyday life? I used to carry a journal with me all the time, just a small notepad. I would write things down. I called it in my notes here, tool number 1, track your laps. Write them down, use a journal, use a phone app, use sticky notes, whatever helps you identify where your progress is, that it can be visual in your house, in your car, whatever. I'm going to say the first time, the longest time I quit smoking was 15 years ago. And I just started during COVID. But in that time before that, 15 years ago, God, probably 20 years ago now, I had sticky notes in my car. And it was all stuff based around quitting smoking. And that visual really, really helped me. The other thing is to expect yellow flags, expect crashing, expect someone else perhaps is going to spin out in front of you. But it's how we react to those setbacks and those crashes. There will be days that life will throw you a curveball. That doesn't mean the race is over. That just means sometimes we need to slow down, reset, and when the lights go out again, we roll forward until the next yellow flag happens. And that's the biggest thing I've realized for myself in over the years, in just, you don't always have to stay in that place. Yes, I've been faced with weeks of depression. I'm not going to say months. I've always been able to somewhat pull myself out of it. So moving forward, let me ask, what's one lap that you want to complete today? Who in your life could you share your green flag lights out moment? And that's for you to start something today. Someone who can encourage you, someone who can keep you accountable. I'm going to say my accountability is all of you. I would not have started this and tried to better myself, get myself in a bit better of a place if it wasn't for all of you. The last few days, I would say another green flag for me is not letting others impact my mood as much. So when I am in whatever type of relationship it is, and I don't feel the communication is what it should be, or maybe I just feel whatever certain way, maybe unwanted, whatever it is, I really let that affect me. And that's one of the things I'm really trying to work on now is I need to find my own happiness and worth rather than the way somebody else is communicating or treating me. I need to stop letting that affect me the way it does. So I kind of said about starting the podcast, and I'm going to get a little bit more personal, like starting this podcast, the mental pit stop, as I said, was my green flag lights out moment. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. Years and years ago, I had thought about writing a book. It's a little emotional, sorry. I actually started working on being a life coach. I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I wanted to do these other things. And over the last few years, just situation turned on me and I just became in a really bad place and really doubted myself. And then I started Gran Turismo and joined. Oh, it's emotional. I joined an amazing community of like-minded people. And I'm going to talk about that in another podcast likely, but I don't think a lot of you that are subscribed, I hope maybe through some mental health, people will find my channel and tune in, and they have nothing. Maybe they're not even into racing, but just I had to get started, and I just kept reminding myself the first episode doesn't need to be perfect. This is not perfect. I wanted to have a whole cam set up and nice clean lines and all that. And here we are. But I just wanted to get started. I'm probably going to do 2 more before I post this, just due to the research that I have done. Said post 3, don't just post 1, because people may see it and it may not resonate with them. So we'll see. I may be super excited to post this this week, and maybe I'll do that. So today is my lap one for the postcard, for the podcast. Whatever your green flag is, remember, it doesn't have to be flawless. It just has to be real. You just have to get started. So today we've talked about green flags, those starting lines in life where fear meets us head on. I talked a little bit about procrastination is the worst for me. Remember the affirmation we spoke about earlier? Hold on to, maybe there's something in there that spoke to you the most. Maybe you want to write your own and pop it into the comments. I appreciate any comments of feedback. Maybe this was something you want to share with somebody in your family that's not even into Gran Turismo. But here's your reflection question. What's the current starting line in life for you? What are you hesitating at? What would it take to roll things forward for you, to push the accelerator and get things started? You don't need to finish the race today. You just need to begin. Every flag is a chance to reset, whether it's a green, a yellow, a red, a checkered flag, and you move on to the next race. The next episode, we'll talk about your pit crew. Who are the people that can fuel you? Who are the people that keep you going? I want to thank you for participating. If you want to share this, I really appreciate that. Until that next time, stay steady, be grateful, and keep pushing forward.